So you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to kind of look at our paper here. So that is our light to dark value study. Now, the reason you always want to know this, and sometimes if you have a new set of pencils, or if you get some charcoal or something, or even if you just pick up a pencil and that's what you have, if you just practice this, this alone will help your drawing. So this idea of adding your values is how you shade, and shading is what gives us dimension. So you want to have all these values present in some way in your drawing. So you definitely want to have the lightest, and you definitely want to have the darkest, and then all these fall in between. So if we look over at our inspiration drawing today, I can see where the darkest are, can't you? Right there and back here. And even look, we find the dark all the way in all these areas. And then we have the lightest, just tiny little bitty lines here and there that are lightest, and then everywhere in between. So this would be, oh, probably about a 7 on mine. And then this over here is about an 8. And this right here might be a 3. You see how we have all those in there. That's what's going to help us with our drawing. And especially when you're talking about adding value, value is going to give us dimension, make it look real, make it look like it comes off your paper. But on this drawing, you see how we have lots of just simple straight lines, but some of the lines come forward and some of the lines go back. That's going to help us in our values. So we're going to draw this very simply, and we're going to work on shading, and that's going to be our introduction. Now, don't worry, I'd like to kick off the first with a drawing when I can, because it helps center your head on composition and shading and values, because we've got painting coming up and all sorts of other things. Some of you have taken the class before, and you know, I always bring in different artists. I bring in different ways to do things. So don't worry if you go, oh, I love drawing, I've got you covered today. If you go, oh, I love painting, I've got you covered there. So, okay, we're going to jump in, and I want you to notice that we're going to start with our very center. It's like an old window that's been boarded up, but I see in here rectangle shapes. Do you see? It kind of makes an H, like my name, with a rectangle shape up above. So this is in the center of our drawing. We're going to draw it right underneath our value study, so we remember where everything goes. And let's draw this first rectangle right here in the middle. So just give me a rectangle. You want to make sure it's big enough that you're going to be able to get all those details. Mine's a little wonky, but that'll work. Doesn't have to be perfect. So this is our inner shape right here. That's our rectangle. So we're going to build our composition around that. Okey-doke. We've got a rectangle right here. So do you see how our rectangle is divided into 2? We've got a line right in the middle with a top rectangle and a bottom one. Let's go ahead and do that line. So straight down the middle. And we have 2 lines. Look what we just made. We just made that right there. Okay. Got that? So let's do we're going to do add our sides in. So to do that, we're just going to extend our rectangle out a little bit. Let's put that side in there. And I'm going to extend it out on both sides. So I'm bringing out the bottom, and I'm adding a line on. Don't worry, this is made of old wood, so it can be wonky and a little crooked. Doesn't matter if it's perfectly straight. We don't need rulers on this one. So now, look, my last name is Houseman. I don't know, most people just say Miss Kisa or Kisa. For my first name, but look, we've got an H right there. So if you know how to draw an H, you've already drawn a window. We're going to do these crossbars, windowsill, and oh, I forget what the top part of the window is called right now. My architecture is leaving me. But notice it hangs over on the end. Always in drawing, we want to look for details. So to do that, we're going to make a rectangle on the top by extending it out, pulling it up, and drawing it in. And extend it past here, right here. We're going to do that exact same thing on the bottom. We're putting a rectangle that's wider than our H here. Extending it out, putting it down. Okay. So we've got our windowsill, our, oh goodness, I can't think of what that is called at the right. I'll think of it in a minute. Lots of times they use big cement blocks, but we've got our basic window here. Now, if you notice, it's made of boards. And how would we create the boards? Do you see how the lines go up and down? So we're going to bring the boards in. How many boards do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So we need to make 5 lines that go down, but they're not going, we're going to skip our crossbar. 1. We actually make 4 lines to make 5 boards, but 2. If yours has more, it's okay. 3, 4. There we go. And I've got 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as with any drawing, this is our inspiration piece. So if you make yours a little different, that is fine. I just want you, we're really working on shading and developing our drawings today. So I'm assuming some of y'all have experience and some of you have no experience. So if at any time you need to unmute and ask a question, feel free, or I will also send this image out too, so you can reference it and kind of go over what we went off when I send the video out. So, okay, so now we're missing part of our window. Let's go ahead and put that in, and that's on our second board. I'm just going to put a line here. And I'm going to lightly shade that in. I don't need to make it as dark. Just like you did one of these, it should be probably about the same size. Just go ahead and shade that in so we remember what that is. I call that making a note. So like you're taking notes as an artist, you're saying, oh, remember that that is dark right there. So leave ourselves a little note. Guys, we've almost got this drawn in. You are doing awesome. And then we're going to be able to jump into our shading. So the next thing, we have one more rectangle to put in, and it's this. Now notice when we have this rectangle and this rectangle, that's another board above it. This is called negative space right here. It's not part of the drawing, but it is in shadow, but it forms another rectangle. So come up kind of about where the window is. And we're going to draw that thin rectangle. That's actually negative space, meaning it's not part of our subject. Our subject is what we're drawing. But that is, and then I'm just going to shade that too, lightly shade. That's my second note to myself. Oh yes, that's my shadow, my negative space there. So I'm just going to give myself a little note. All right. And then we're going to draw that rectangle above. Just, it's going to be about the same size as this one down here. All right, I don't think anyone's lived here for a very long time if they have boards over their windows. What do you think? They moved out. They might have gone to Florida. Maybe they're in Florida. Okay. So all around here, and this is going to give us a chance for extra types of shading, different types of shading. We have, it would have been made of rocks. But notice how they make the rocks. They are lines, but they just kind of come in like this. So it comes in almost a squiggle line. And I'm just going to do that. So again, we're seeing rectangles, but they're not perfect. They have funny shapes. So you can kind of build rectangles that are uneven and different shapes on top of each other. but I want to bring you in and I want you to notice that they have rounded corners. So see this where we've got these little spaces right in here? We want to make sure we keep those little spaces because if we go over, see our little spaces right here? We want to make sure we have those. So bring you in so you see that. So and you can make the rectangles go up and down any way you want to. Just make sure you round the corners because these are rocks. So rocks are all different shapes. So we're going to go all the way around our picture. I'm not trying to copy what's here. You can put little rectangles in, big rectangles in. Long and skinny ones. This is kind of get creative here. So short, squatty ones. Just remember, we're rounding those corners. We want to make sure we get this little area in here. And most stones that had been around a long time would have had their edges rounded too. So you can make some small, some really big. Squares, rectangles. But you're making a stone house, but we're only putting around. So you can get creative here. Remember, you're rounding your edges. You can make little divots where the rock comes in like this. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We're going to go all the way around. So just remember to round those edges. You can make them different in all sorts of ways. So if you wanted to draw a castle and you said, oh, after this, I want to draw a castle, you can make your castle stones the same way. And even you can make your castle windows the same way. However, if you want to fit your princess in there or your prince, you can take the boards out and put a prince in it. So, okay, let's keep going all the way around. You don't have to have as many on the top. I just put a few on the top, but we want it to go. We want our stones to go all the way around. Oh, I might need a little stone in there. Might need a jagged. Just remember to round those edges. Okay, so you can see where I'm going. And if you decide one's too big, you can even make one into two. Just remember to round those edges, just like that. So maybe I'll make one into two over here. No one has ever built a stone house as fast as we just did. Okay, so you can kind of see. While you're finishing your stones, lentils, that's what they're called, the lintel above. I knew it would come to me. Oh, so we've got our sills and our lentils, which go above, and our sides of our window, our crossboard there. We made notes to ourselves on our negative space up here and where our board has fallen in. We have our extra support, whatever that is. It looks like because of that shadow, we've probably lost something with age. And then we've got our rocks all around. Okay. So are you ready to talk about shading? Okay. So up here, we talked about value, and I've brought this up in many, many classes, and I'll continue to always bring these up because these are the basics that you build everything on. When I talk about value in drawing, I talk about value in painting. I talk about value with color, because let's say this was a blue. In that blue, we have all these values. We have the lightest blue to the darkest blue. It's the same for every color. So this idea goes into artwork everywhere. And sometimes it's kind of hard to think about, but that's what makes up art. So You also have strokes. It's the same. You would make these strokes with your brush, with your pencil, with your marker, whatever, with a pen. So we talked about these up here. We talked about you can shade by running your pencil along there, doing your shading. You can shade by strokes that go in the same direction, which are called hatching. You can shade by crossing those strokes, which is called cross hatching. You can shade by scribbling or scumbling and layering. And you can use all of the combination. I'm going to come in real close to this picture and we're going to look. Do you see hatching right here? And then do you see where they cross hatched? Do you see where we cross hatch right here? And then down here, we have some scumbling way down here as I bring it in. So all those techniques are used in there. So we're going to use our pencil to make those values and make the techniques. We're going to start on our boards right here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to lightly follow the line. So I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to lightly go up and down. I'm going to show you very closely. See those light marks right there going up and down? We're going to do that on all these boards. We're going to go lightly. Does it feel kind of like wood when you do that? So not only are you shading them, you're beginning to shade them. You're also giving them the marks of wood. So this is very light. We're in a very light value, 1 at the most 2. So when I look up, I should kind of think, oh, that looks like 1. Very light value here. Going up and down. Do, 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 do. It's okay if they squiggle because it can look like wood if you do it. I'm going to scoot this table just a hair closer. So sorry it bobbled a little bit. Okay, so we've gone up and down on all our boards right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come across with a cross hatch. And I'm going to go this way. So either go from this corner to this corner or this corner to this corner. It'll depend on if you're a left-handed or right-handed. It'll depend on how you put your paper. But I'm going to come in the board and I'm going to come across like this against the edge. Okay. See, I'm just coming across just like this. See how we start to get a little darker. I'll bring you in a little closer. See how I'm coming across? We're building our drawing, okay? So let's bring it across. I'm starting at this edge and I'm hatching with lines going across those lines we just drew. We're starting to get a lot of what's called texture. Now I am drawing in charcoal, just so you know. So if you see it all over my hand and I start smearing it on the paper, that's because I'm using charcoal instead of a pencil. The only reason I'm using charcoal is because it's easier for you to see on the computer. So I'm going across all my boards, hatching from the line. So I'm going from the line into the board. All the way across. Yep. Now, if you're done with that, or even if you're still working, I want you to darken the line. That line that you drew, I want you to darken it up. You can stop hatching if you're still hatching and just darken that line. I want you to darken it up. Oh, look what happens. Yeah. As we darken it up, we're adding value to it because we're adding a darker layer. Okay. We see it a little bit better too. I'm going to darken this back up. Remember our note? I'm going to make it a little darker because it's starting to get the same color as the rest of the board. So wherever your note, you made your note on your missing board, go ahead and darken it up. You don't have to be all the way to 9, but at least get to 8. Try and have it look like your 8 up here. That way you'll remember it. Everyone is doing so well. I can see some of your drawings. Excellent, guys. Okay. If you're still hatching, keep hatching, but I'm going to hatch. See how we have a shadow across here? Right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hatch a little bit extra right underneath this board, all the way across. See how it starts to create a shadow? And if I need to create more, I just hatch a little more. Going all the way, just on these boards, right underneath here. And underneath here, we've got another shadow. See how things are, when I add that darker, how the light starts to come out, we get that depth. So let me check. How's everyone doing? We doing okay? We're feeling good? Okay. Well, let's keep rolling. My view doesn't want to change. There we go. Okay. So now we've got something on there, and you can always, if you want it to be darker, you can increase your value anywhere you want. See how when I just add more lines, I can add up and down lines. See how it gets a little darker in those areas? Or I can add hatch marks. But we don't have to worry too much about that. I think we've got enough on there for our information to go. Okay, we're going to do a round and then we'll get into the rocks on getting those different ways. So that's really cool. So same thing, the direction of the wood. Remember how we put these lines in? So if our wood's going this way, I want you to put in some lines going across, but they can be a little squiggly. I'm going to kind of see how I made them squiggly. Give me some squiggle lines across the top. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one, on these two going across. Kind of feel like wood. So if you want to draw anything that feels like wood, you always give it a line in the direction of the wood. And ours are pretty simple today, but you can get much more elaborate. Okay. Now, remember how we darken this up to at least an 8 or a 9? I'm going to darken in our negative space. It's going to set us apart. That's our note to ourselves. Remember? Just to remember, that's a placeholder. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if you've got your lines across, oh, we missed this one down here. Remember, we got a line going across here. We got to get our squiggle lines. See our wood there? So they really are just squiggle lines. See how the lines go across? Giving us the feel of wood. Okay. So if we went across this way, What are we going to do? Are we going to do the same thing up and down? Go up and down? Same thing. Let's do these side ones. Anyone notice I missed one? Did I miss one? Right here. Did I miss that one? Let's do that. Get some lines going across. Okay. So we're going to leave our window like it is for the moment, and we can pull it out a little bit, but I want to get you into the rocks. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint all the little cracks paint we're going to draw. I always like painting, but we're going to draw all the little cracks. We're going to make those dark. Remember how I showed you how to make this dark right here and all those rounded corners? So what I want you to do is we're going to put these in at an 8 or a 9. I want you to find all the little tiny spaces that are in between your rocks. And I want you to fill those in and watch it starts making your rocks pop out. See all those little spaces? You're going to fill those in. Where we had our rounded corners in between, on the top, on the sides, all these little, and you can just take your pencil and where it is and just fill that in. And you're going to want to press pretty hard because you're going to want to get an 8 to a 9. Okay. So all around those, in between. So look what starts to happen. You see the difference between this side and that side. It starts rounding out the shapes because where we put the dark becomes that negative space. It goes deep. Everything dark recedes or goes away from you on the paper, and everything light comes towards you. So if it's light, it's a 1, or the paper, if it's down here, it's going to come towards me. If it's down here, it's going to go away. So anything I need to go away, so all these little cracks and crevices, I'm going to fill them all in. So when you're drawing anything, so if you were drawing a horse and you wanted the legs to look like they were behind, or last one we started off by drawing cupcakes and we wanted the icing to round and we wanted that to go back and get darker and go away. So, all right, guys. You wanted to build a tower where Rapunzel lived, this could be her window right here. So, okay, so we've got all our little pieces all tucked in. Now we're going to start our shading, and we're going to try and use all of our boxes. So I'm going to say pick box 2, and you're going to try and copy that value. It's like a little rock game, but I want you to see how our rocks are shaded. So I'll show you what I mean. So right here, you see we have a little spot that's shaded, and I would say that's about a 5. So I'm going to try and copy 5, and I'm going to put that in that little area like that. So when I say find a spot that has a 6, I want you to kind of find a spot. So like for instance, I'm going to shade. See how that works? If I bring you in closer, you see what I'm doing? So I'm not filling in all the spots, but look, see how the rocks look? They have, here's our shape. We have usually at the tops, the bottoms, and the sides, but then we have some that are come out from the sides. So you're going to want to go at the top of the rock, at the bottom of the rock, or the side of the rock. Does that make sense? We ready to play our shading game? Okay. So I want you to try and do a number 3 on 3 rocks. So what does that look like? That means I'm going to try and do a number 3 on the bottom of this rock. I'm going to try and do a number 3 on the top of this rock. And I'm just using hatching. So I'm just drawing lines like this. And I'm going to use a number 3 on the bottom of this rock. But you can pick any 3 rocks. So you're trying to get it to look about the value of number 3. Okay. Everyone get what we're doing? So I want you to try and make something the value of number 4 on 4 rocks. Okay. Find 4 rocks, and I'm going to go at the top. 1, 2. See how I go at the top of the rock? And I'll even come in a little closer. Yep. So I'm not going all over. I'm just making a little area, and I have to find 4 rocks, and I'm going to move all around my picture. 3, and then that's about a 4. So I'm trying to make it the value about as dark as number 4, because we want to have all the values in our drawing. Now we're going to try and do a number 2. So find 2 rocks, and I want you to put a number 2 on the side of 2 rocks. So find the sides and try and make it like a number 2. Do you have to press harder or lighter? You have to press a little lighter. Okey-doke. So now, oh, we're going to get a little bit darker. Let's try and do a number 7 on how many rocks do you think? 4 rocks. Okay, number 7 on 4 rocks. So look how dark number 7 is. And I want you to do it on the bottom of 4 rocks. You may have to go over it a couple times because we're getting darker. You have to find 4 rocks. And I need 1 more. Oh, here's 1. Are your rocks starting to take shape? Are they starting to look like rocks? Okay. Who wants to call the next one? Somebody want to call it? Or you want me to keep doing it? Here. I can't unmute y'all. Y'all have to unmute yourself. You want me to do it? You want me to call it? Okay, let's do a number 5 times. And I want you to do it on the top of 5 rocks. So try and find rocks you don't have any shading on. So we're trying to do a 5. So you might have to 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't have any over here. And how about this one? I'm going to get this one. Okay, you see how the rocks are starting to come to life, where you're getting that shading and you're putting that in. So let's go dark. We're going to take number 8, and we're only going to put it along this side. So I want you to find 4 rocks and put it a number 8 along this side. So pick 4 rocks. So like 1, I'm going to go pretty dark. Oh, look at the change. And then it's okay if you hatch over where you've got on the top, because you're going to cross hatch. 2, 3. I've got to make sure that's as dark as an 8. Okay. Oh, look how that gave me a shadow down that side. You see what just happened? We made a shadow. Let's see. How about a number 3 again? How many rocks for number 3? Somebody want to call it? Mary, did you say 3 rocks? 3 rocks with number 3. I want you to make these big spaces with number 3. So when I say big spaces, fill in a big space on a rock. So do you see how much I just did right there? So this will be good if you have rocks that don't have a lot on it. Okay, number 3. We're gonna do 2 more, and then I'm gonna show you just how to tweak some of the stuff. So let's do a number 2 on 2 rocks and do it on the outside. So pick 2 rocks and find the outside. So like here, there's a 2, it's gonna be real light, and then real light. Okay. Then we're gonna finish off. We're gonna do number 5 again. 5 more rocks at the tops only. Okay. So if you have any rocks that don't have any on the top, 5 rocks, number 5 on our value at the top. Okay. So basically what you're doing is I wanted you kind of really examining and making sure you're putting in all the values. We have all the values in our inspiration piece. So now we're just going to finesse a little bit and kind of play with it. But even when you're drawing, you can play that own game with yourself. You can think, do I have enough dark? Do I have enough light? So let's come along and we'll just add a little bit more. And we're just going to pop it a little bit. But honestly, guys, I think you have rocked it. So what we're going to do is anywhere we did a number 9, remember when we first filled in our rocks, we're going to come right to that area and just come out a little bit. So if this is your dark area like this, you're going to do lines out almost like you're making eyelashes on it. Okay. But we're going to take those and make sure we've got a little shading all around our dark areas. It's like you're hatching out like eyelashes. That's really going to pop those dark areas and make sure we've got those. Oops, I just found one I didn't fill in. That way we make sure that those are going to feel a little bit darker and full. It's like I'm making eyelashes on all my dark spots. So it's a little bit of a game, but that way it makes you think, hey, do I have all my values in my drawing? And also, when I'm doing a drawing, I work my values all around, just like we did. I want them to go all around, because if I just work from this side over, my drawing will be out of balance. Going all around, adding shading to those stone areas. And where I had dark. Now, I will tell you this. I have a lot of students, and what they love to do is look how messy. You can tell I'm using charcoal. I'm a very messy artist. But they love to take their finger with their graphite and smear their picture. I usually am not a big fan of that unless that's what we're doing. But if you want to work, this is a good drawing to try that on, and to only do it on your rocks. So if you want to take your finger, you can take some of your pencil, and where you have your shadow, you can move it out a little bit. So does that make sense? You're kind of smearing where your shadow is, and it should enhance your shadow. Now, I don't always like to do that with graphite. So graphite is usually with the pencil you're using. I usually like to do that with charcoal, but on the rocks, it's a really good technique. You can see some of that, and it works well, and it increases our value range. We're going to see that full. And some people just like to get messy. I mean, who doesn't? I love to get messy. So you can do that. So I'll let you do that for just a minute, and then we'll tidy up a few things. And you have drawn a barn door or a barn window in a rock barn. But I hope you've learned a lot about the values. So what I want you to do is we're just going to darken a few things just to pop them. I want you to just give me a few more vertical lines on these boards. The very first boards we did, we're going to darken these up. Now that we've done our other values, we find, oh no, this isn't dark enough. So I'm going to darken up my vertical lines only on these vertical boards. I'm just adding more vertical. So you see what happens as I layer, I get more value because I'm layering, I'm dropping more pencil on there. So once you add your vertical lines, now we've got to darken our shadows. So let's darken our shadows. Remember, we did those shadows right underneath. We want to be at, try to be at least a 7, hopefully an 8. So, and then you're going to have to darken this to 9 for sure by now. See, as we get darker, we pop it a little bit more. So there you go. Now, this is the fun part. If you decide, oh, I want to keep going, you could continue to add on. You could add more stones. You could practice your technique. I did not add, there's a rope that came down here, but that was going to mess with what we were doing. So I didn't add that from our inspiration. But I would love to take a peek at everybody's. Oh, that looks so good. This looks fantastic. Let me see, guys. Oh, that looks so good. Oh my goodness. Y'all did amazing. Oh, look at how many stones on the blue one. It looks bluish from here. Oh, I love that. Mary, that looks fantastic. Hauser's. Awesome. Guys, y'all rocked it. Good job. I'm super proud of everyone. Hey, does anyone have any questions for me? Does everyone feel like you've got some good shading lesson down today? We learned a lot about drawing. You feel good? So if you want to, you can do another drawing, but do not forget that values in all your pictures, we want to make sure we go values 1 to 9, or you could have 1 to 8. You want to go lightest to darkest. You want to make sure you find all those in your piece. So on that note, I will send the picture out too if you want to try it again, or if you want to make it. Oh, that looks so good. This is a hard picture too, guys. I'm super proud of you. I threw a hard one at you. I was like, we're going big on our first class. So, but I'll send the picture out when I send the video, and I will send you the list of everything you need. Next week, I believe we have watercolors, but I'll send you the whole list out when the video goes out tomorrow. So, okay, great job. I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.